backup for the, you know, when you asked us to figure out how much we were going to spend. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Is there some,
I don't know.
5
So Melanie and Mara
are sick.
okay. Yeah,
So there's just
5
one
including.
blank chair, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Well, that
probably
one,
all right,
right,
because
yeah.
it's, you can
Oh, good.
Now,
Nice.
can you get online from your computer? Oh, okay. Is that a, is that the website, or is that just? All right.
That's the website. You should fix the name. It's like, it would be nice if we just get the name.
Where'd she go? Yeah, that's good. Right. Yeah. I didn't like Ian's comments. Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Thursday, April 11th, 2019 regular meeting of the Public Arts Commission. Mr. Barata, would you call the roll,
Yes. Commissioner Brenner is out. Commissioner Gladstone, we know, is out. These are excused absences. Commissioner Merrigan. Oh, yes. Yes, she's here. Commissioner Murray.
Here.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Here.
Vice Chair Yanni.
Here.
And Chair Sheffer.
Here. I'd like a motion, please, to accept the agenda, and I'd like to make one change to it first. Dr. Reddy is going to try to come by, and so when he does, I'd like to move the budget discussion up so that he can be here for that. So if there are no objections.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the amendment, or the agenda, sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. Okay, we have no minutes to approve, no presentations, and I will also postpone the report from the chair so that, because we have a lot of reports to do. Oh, here's Dr. Reddy.
Oh,
very good.
Very good.
Hello.
Okay. Pass these down. Okay. We were asked, first of all, for anyone who doesn't know him, this is Dr. Reddy, the city manager, and it is budget time. And so we have been asked to give some input into our budget. And Jay sent out some worksheets, but I thought I would sort of make it simpler to track, because it's a little hard to tell from the city printouts exactly how much we've spent. So if you look at the top page of what I gave you, see if I have a copy of it. I gave all the copies, so let me just have that for a minute. Okay. We put this together earlier in the year. These were all of the plans for the 30th anniversary and what we had budgeted for them. And you'll notice that the contract with Lumineering Industries for lighting did not work out. We weren't able to get it bid out in time. But I have added in the 2 contracts that are in process right now for Flat Black Paint and David Lee. And if we do all of these projects, all of which are in process, our projected expenses will be $235,000. If you look at the second page, you will see that so far we've only spent $161,000, and there's no way to tell from this sheet contracts that haven't been signed yet. So I have added in the ones that don't appear here yet. And again, to come up with a projected expense of $235,000, which was one of the questions that you wanted us to answer. Just a note, it says here that we gave the Palm Springs Art Museum $73,000, which is not true. We gave them $50,000. And we paid for gravel on the art park, and somehow the two got sort of mushed together. So maybe someday we'll get that fixed. Anyway, if we follow this budget, we started with $592,000. If we follow our projected expense and we get to do all of the projects, there would be $357,000 in carryover. And then if you look at the last page, this is what the city needs to put together for our budget. And the top number, the beginning cash balance, they won't know until the beginning of the year. But it looks like it will be around $350,000. The income is also a guesstimate. Last year I don't even know what the actual was, but it's always budgeted at $181,000. And so for projected expenses, we no longer have personnel costs. Most of our programs fall under artwork maintenance, materials, supplies, and services. So if we budget $130,000 for that and $50,000 for the art museum, it would come to, we would have $350,000 unallocated at this point, or last year we called it artwork procurement, but it's unallocated. I did have a question though. If we're not paying for personnel, these special charges, are they part of personnel or are they simply part of just the ongoing support from the department? Oh, thank you. I was trying to make it simple enough that I could understand it, and then, so.
Yes, so let me, a couple things, if I could add. First, we'll find out why that, the 50,000 for the museum is 50,000. I'm not sure why they added, if they added something more.
On the print, on the detailed expenses, it's something called Muchnick.
Yeah, I think she's nailed it.
It's the gravel.
got
Included,
Included,
okay,
right.
okay, so we can fix that.
Yeah.
But on the answer to your charges, those are the charges, the general fund chart, those are the charges that go across everywhere to deal with all the administrative services. These are the benefits. And it's a percentage of the budget across everyone.
Okay, so it's not related to having personnel. It's not their
yes.
benefits.
Correct, but what I would note that refresher, and a couple things we were able to do in the budget that's helped over the last few years is we moved all the maintenance for, the fountain. So that was about 40, and we did move that back to general fund. That was good, and we took all the personnel out. So the idea to give you some more money for art. So those two things we did. It would be a little harder to undo these insurance and administrative benefits one.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't. And thank you. We really appreciate that the personnel no longer shows on our budget, because that was hard to keep realizing that we had that money. This Kennedy bust apparently is some sort of very small $15,000 fund for repairing the Kennedy bust. I don't know. But
That's what the convention
maybe we
center?
can- Or the airport?
At the oh,
But it's been on this budget forever, but maybe we could find out this year what it is and just not have it anymore.
Bust 15.
this was money you wanted to use for,
No, we
The
just,
maintenance
we
of
just
it?
never, we don't even actually know what it is.
well, it's appropriated.
Well, I know, but it's
Yeah.
been that way every single year.
Yeah.
My understanding is there was an agreement that this would be contributed to the Public Arts Commission for the maintenance of the Kennedy bust.
Well, when they moved it from Tockwitz, but who would have contributed it?
Yeah. I mean, they're
Was it
just
pri-
saying it's in our budget. But you know, last year, the budget that we were looking at until this latest expense form showed us as having $845,000. And I think they must have, somebody double counted
Yes.
the unallocated and the art. It's too bad. It looked much nicer when it was there. Does anyone have any questions about just, this is, if I understand correctly, the city would like us to budget the $181,000 that they're pretty sure we're going to get. And then anything that we carry over doesn't expire, but it's just in an unallocated line. So whenever we want to spend it on something, they move it from one category to another.
So it's saying 181,000 for the coming year,
Right.
and then we have,
If you could use your microphone, please, Commissioner. Thank you.
We think we'll have about 350. That's my
back of
That's
the
my
envelope.
estimate, because a lot of the things we know we've written contracts for haven't made it into encumbrances yet, so. Al, did you have a?
Yes,
yeah.
I think I have an ethical question for us. One, and if I'm out of order, please stop me, correct me.
Okay.
One, we voted last week, meeting to pay a photographer $3,500, and some of taking pictures of public art, identified public art. And my question was then and is now, can we do that and get monies as a result of that? In other words, the pictures will be taken, PSP will sell them. Are we allowed to get any revenue from that, and do we need permission from the artist?
You know what, we haven't gotten that far.
Okay.
And we don't have a contract yet.
Okay,
So,
all
but we have had a line for photography
Yes.
every year also to get some good photographs of.
I agree, yes.
And so, but the question of what they turn into, since we don't have a contract yet, to have the photographs taken,
And sold.
we can't figure out
Yes.
what to. they're-
Yes, okay. And my second question.
What I offer on that is, if you pay to have the photos taken, they're the property of the Arts Commission.
Right.
And so if you choose to allow someone to use them for profit, indeed, you should get a portion of that profit, which would go back to your art fund, and that would be done through, contract language.
Thank you, so that's
And,
acceptable.
and interestingly, we're one of the few departments that has, it says in our ordinance that we can receive funds
Yes.
from contributions or foundations or whatever, so.
We just didn't get to discuss it at the last meeting. I had to leave early, I apologize.
Okay.
My last question, in our minutes, there's a plan for $75,000 towards a Desert X piece of art.
Yeah, but
My-
we haven't even,
I understand.
Okay.
Just an ethical, my question is, can we get the community to donate some money or monies towards that project?
Sure,
Okay.
we could,
sure.
Thank you.
but it's not part of the budget
Right,
yet.
I understand.
So,
but
I mean,
I just needed
um,
clarification. Thank you.
thank you.
So
Yeah.
just quick question, but so for the 1920 budget, our available money will be the 531?
The available money will be $181,000 plus whatever carries over. So this is just a guess of what will carry over.
Approximately, okay.
So if we're on budget from what we set out to do, we will have $581,000 on July 1st, or something close to that. So,
This is good.
yeah, so everyone's okay with it? Would you like us to take a vote to recommend it?
Sure,
or-
sure. Your vote recommended to the council. We plan to take the budget to the council the first meeting in May, and so your recommendation would be a part of that. So, thank
Okay.
you.
May I have a motion to recommend this?
Do we
20.
have the allocation of the $181,000?
It's,
Is it
it's
in there?
It's on this sheet, as in, it's, for the purposes of this
Oh,
budget.
that one,
It's,
okay.
it's just really basically two lump sums, our programs and our contribution to the art museum, and everything else is unallocated. But I gave Dr. Reddy and you,
Okay.
the last page is the budget, and I didn't give it to anyone else because it's just a mess. It's you had it, those budget allocations, which is the same thing as how you get to $181,000. But the budget always has $500 for supplies, and, it doesn't come in big chunks. It breaks things down a little bit more, yeah. So I marked that up to agree with this, okay?
Great.
I do have an MBA. Anyway, may I have a motion to make this our recommendation, which is to say the last column, the projected preliminary budget for 2019-20. Motion? You're good at this.
I'll make a motion to recommend this budget to city council for the 2019-2020 fiscal year.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And let the record show that we do have a quorum, and we're missing 2 people. One other question. Can we get a record of what we have, the fees that have been paid in this year and by whom?
Yes.
Because I see it last year, we had some idea of what was coming in. I don't think we've hit $180 yet, but there's still several months in the year.
I believe the current estimate is $135,000
Okay, so we're
For
on our way
next year, or
that we've
in this
brought
year,
in
so
for this
that,
this year,
current fiscal
okay.
year.
so that we're not cutting into that. I mean, we're not cutting into our
Right.
income.
But one quick question, do we have any pending fees that could be requested returned to developers?
Someone just gave me this, and I have to read it.
sent 2 months
Never
ago?
heard of it
Right.
before.
One thing I would note on what the part of the beauty of council appropriating that 181, the sort of the risk is on the general fund. So even if we don't get 181 in revenue, in essence, the general fund is giving that to you. So we'll go with it.
Okay,
You can go with
we'll
it.
take it. All right, do you have any other words of wisdom for us?
None? Or-
Okay. Just while you're here, I want to just commend Commissioner Murray for being the lead person on the mural at St. Paul's. Absolutely stunning. Lot of publicity, and since Father Andrew is retiring, it was particularly nice. And Commissioner Pritchard's been rustling up graffiti artists, and we're going to have an art park on the Virgin site. And Commissioner Merrigan and several others we're going to have a big exhibit in May of all the things we've done, and also soliciting ideas from the public art. So, and then maybe we'll send a report to you.
And we appreciate our chairperson, our chair, she's just the greatest.
Yeah. But thank you
And
for
Jay.
coming. We really appreciate it. It got much simpler.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dr. Rudy.
Okay.
All right, so for minutes purposes, that was action item E1, working on the budget. We will now go back to the
May-
regular agenda, and we need to go back to public comments.
May I suggest, since we might lose our quorum, let's do item E2, which is simply to take a formal vote on something that we've already done, which was when the Rotary had their chalk art festival and closed the street, and I know several of you got down there to see it. We said that we would pay their fee to the city.
The street closure fee. Oh, okay.
And it was an amount not to exceed $900. So I would like to move that we officially approve having paid the fees for the Rotary chalk.
I'll second that motion.
Any objections? All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
Okay. This is, this sort of goes along with our intent to pay some mural fees, to pay things to facilitate people doing these sort of festivals downtown, so.
Okay, so now I think we still need to call for public comments? right? We did not get to,
We have a
okay.
visitor. We should invite her to come.
No?
Um,
No comments? Okay.
no.
Okay, thanks for
No.
coming.
Thank you, yes. Why don't you give your name for the record, because we so rarely have company.
Well, yes, and this lovely person did come to our special meeting at the
I
Boys and
know.
Girls Club, so she is someone we would like to continue to know.
Yes, actually, yeah, just come and we would love to have your contact information, because I think that's the most meeting anyone's.
I believe I've got her business card.
Oh, okay.
My name's Colleen McGrath.
Okay, thank you. So if you feel like making comments at some point, we can call on you. But this is the time that has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Arts Commission, and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time each item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 5 minutes is assigned to each speaker. So we have a guest, but not a speaker. Okay, so we have successfully sort of broken these projects down into subcommittees, and so we just really need a report on what's been set in motion. So let's start with.
So can I just refresh? So for the purpose of the minute, so number A, presentations, there are none. Then number B, report from the chair, we're going to postpone until the end of the meeting. Number C, we're now moving to number C, the reports from the subcommittees.
And would you or Commissioner Merrigan like to start?
Sure, so 30 by 30, art show,
And I'll start.
okay.
So I have a question though on the budget. Can I still ask
Yeah.
that?
Yeah?
So I think I asked this last year too, just to verify. So we kind of approved this general budget last year, but afterwards we're able to go in and change.
Right. That,
Some of
are you
the-
looking at the sheet with the 3 columns? This one?
Or just the, where,
The big general one.
yeah, the more detailed one, right, where,
Right.
software
actually-
maintenance, all that kind of stuff. We can
Right.
kind of adjust it as the year goes by.
Absolutely. In fact, it did not start out with $127,000 in contractual services. It started with, I don't know, 50 or something. And there's a printout that's like 10 pages long, and it has each transaction. But it's very confusing because it will say, like, art acquisition minus $50,000, contractual services plus $50,000, because that's how they just moved it around. So nothing was spent. But this
I
is-
use that long one to like make up the budget for this year, like to come up with that original budget, like in the summer. I kind of added up all those extra line items to try to move them around.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, and we can do that again next year, because right now we've only accounted for $180,000. So maybe at the first meeting in the fall, we'll actually, we've never really done it, like all at once, say we'd like to move this much into contractual services. But I think we'll have a better idea of how this works. Okay, so tell us about
Is
the.
contractual services where the payments for people like Sarah are coming out?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Though we're increasingly getting to contracts where when we've bought a piece of art, which is mostly Michael Bernberg, it goes down, it's sort of been in specialized equipment,
Hmm.
which I always thought was like plaques, but it turns out that that's where they put, I think, just about everything we paid him. So again, maybe next fall we'll sit down and we'll say, if we actually buy something, let's have a line that says,
Yeah, so
Even if
people
we
can
just
look
Acquisition,
it up
well,
change
it's
the
in,
name.
it's in acquisition, I mean, we could take it out of there.
but it's the $11,000. The $11,000 of specialized equipment,
Right.
I think, is him. So we can, I think we can start next year off with a better idea of what we'd like
What's
to do.
going where?
Okay, so before Commissioner Merrigan begins, I would like to point out that that's my granddaughter,
I know, I was just gonna. The cutest
who is,
photo. Oh my
she
God.
is like a camera hog. I mean, you just get her near a camera or a stage and she's there.
Well, that kind of sums up, that's like the perfect image actually for that day and that whole idea.
They had a great
Totally,
time.
so. If you scroll up, maybe Jay, you'll see the logo for, or maybe just refresh.
Ta-da. Yay, nice logo.
So that's the logo for the show. We're moving the show, the dates of the show to give us more time. And Tom is managing the relationship with Desert Art Center. So he's reached out to them about that.
Desert X? You said Desert X Center?
Desert Art Center, DAC. So we have so this is launched, the social media has launched, and and we have our enrollment site, and it works, so I tested it today. So the logo is up there already, and then Sarah will work on the content, so we can
So
launch that.
basically, we're going to have this call for artists on social media and get it out to as many lists as we can to really solicit artist to submit a work. The social media will direct people to the website where all of the details of the exhibit will be. And then embedded in there will be, here's how you submit a work of art. And you click on that, and it goes to this thing called Call for Artists, known as Cafe.
Yeah,
Call for.
call for artists. Yeah, cafe. Call
And
for
entries, that's what, yeah.
So this, she already has the information on here, and then we just have to launch it on
So
the
if
other site.
Jay clicked on Learn More,
Yeah, it should be there.
let's see if it's there. Yes, look. Okay, and once you scroll down a little bit, it's, so, so we need to brainstorm a little bit how to get this information out. I'm
Well,
going to ask.
we've met already about it, so I think if we maybe talk about it offline, that's fine. And, so we do have a lot of places it's gonna go
Good.
already, so. One of them is Desert Arts Center, so they have to, but we have a bunch of other ways of getting it out there.
And I think the museum can do it for us. They have an education list.
We have the list from the Arts Commission that's been maintained over the years.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
Sorry. Do we have the list from the Arts Commission?
Jen
Look into the
Henning called
Arts
me.
Commission list.
While I was getting ready, so maybe, did she call me about that?
Okay. So is there anything else that we need to do? Why don't you just run through the new dates so everyone knows? The deadline is that,
We
is
need to
that
change,
correct, or is
yeah.
that the?
We're gonna push it back, right?
Yeah, I sent Madalena the new dates, so does this include them?
It says April 20th still.
Yeah,
Okay, so I-
She called me in the car and said she was trying to get it done by the time.
Yeah, she called me in the car too.
Okay. And then the opening date is, Sunday's not the 12th. I mean, Sunday's not the 11th, so.
It's Saturday.
Anyway, we'll fix that. It doesn't,
Yeah, I'm
we'll get this
texting her
fixed.
now.
Yeah, so the general dates are the show will now open on May 11th with the opening on maybe the 11th or the 12th during the afternoon at DAC. This is, again, we're trying to do it on a weekend instead of during the week in hopes of getting more young people, and especially the young people who are submitting the works that they did in the workshop. The end date will be May 31st, and then the pickup date for works of art will be June 1st, Saturday. The new intake day, we're projecting for Wednesday, May 8th, so from 10 to noon. So if anyone's available for that, I don't think it should be too difficult because it'll only be 30 pieces that we'll be taking in. But if anyone's available for that, that would be great if you could swing by.
So maybe scroll up just so if people are, I'm sure they cannot see it online, but the dates are on. Cool.
You know,
Looks fabulous.
It looks great.
It occurred to me that
Did you find that?
when I was dealing with this call for artists comes from something called the Western States Arts Foundation, which is a nonprofit, and they have a special category for public art where if you don't charge for submissions, which a lot of art shows do, you don't pay any extra for the number of submissions. But it just occurred to me that if what's missing in the public art field is the ability to buy a piece of art on this software.
Yeah, you
So we
can't
may
buy it.
have to just do, and there's fewer pieces and perhaps less likely to be sold. It depends on what they turn out to be. But we'll have to do what we've always done, which is put the artist in touch with the.
Oh, Desert Arts Center is gonna sell them.
Well, they were, but it was in the software that they were gonna get.
No,
Ability.
they'll sell them on site though.
They will?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just gonna give them a binder with, that was the deal, was there are 2 sheets, you do an intake, 2 intake sheets, and one stays with the art, one goes to them, and we just 3-hole punch it and give it to them, like super easy. Like no,
Okay.
they don't have to do computer work or anything.
Okay, so it will just be the full amount goes to the artist.
They,
I think they take a
minus their
commission.
cut, minus
Well,
their
they-
traditional commission.
No, they can't have a commission for something that they're not doing any work. We'll have to deal with that. No, seriously, it didn't work out. They were going to do all of the
Yeah, we hadn't
intake
thought,
and stuff.
that's like another thing then that, yeah, comes down the road.
Okay, we'll negotiate that. Okay, so,
Strategic plan.
strategic plan, well, Mara's
Oh.
not feeling well, and I had some emails back and forth with Emily Womack, but I have not gotten a real update on how far they've gotten. And Jay tells me that their contract is still missing the insurance, so that, especially for being here at a meeting, I mean, if they're writing something, I think it's probably not a problem, but if they're here on site, so we'll try to make sure they seem to know what needed to be done, so I'm surprised. Maybe
Right,
it
they let us know our city requirements were higher than what they typically carry, but they're working with their insurance to bring it up
Okay.
and get it submitted, so.
just- Good. Have they been paid at all? Have they submitted any invoices?
We do not have a contract with them without the insurance.
Oh, I thought we finally had one. Okay, well, that may require resetting some of their deadlines, so,
Can I ask one question?
yeah.
They had asked us to tell them who we'd like to have them talk to, and I didn't have their email and couldn't get it.
Oh,
So if you send it to me, I'll send it to them too, but could they talk to Christian Holman? Because I think he has been such a great source of knowledge about getting projects done timely, beautifully, and
mhm.
meeting like every commitment he made. He's a big fan. So I think he'd be invaluable for them
Okay.
to talk to.
I can do that if you like. I'll copy you on it, but I'll write to them because I have to write to her anyway, so. Okay, so, Flat Black.
All right, so we're on track for the Virgin Hotel Graffiti Art Park site, the contract we did with Pete Solacita from Flat Black Paint. I think he was just wrapping up the insurance details with Jay this morning. We were sort of pushing for the contract to be done and payment to him by today, so that work would start this weekend, running into next Tuesday for the downtown pop-up event. That's not going to happen because the check wasn't written today, so that will happen next week. So the project will start next weekend.
And
And-
we had asked, we'd specified just 20% for
Yeah.
the first.
Then we have Pete Solacita and Madalena and Jeffrey from downtown PSP all sort of hooked up to coordinate the social media for it. Through images sent from Pete, Alfonso and I made the artist selection, a very nice pool of artists. Aaron Hans from Desert Hot Spring, Zone 1 from San Diego, Nose from Palm Springs, Love Crew from Los Angeles, Ease 1 from Palm Springs, and Live from Coachella. Keeping within, as we discussed, and we sent images to Anne for the meeting. It's on a USB port at her house, not here. So, but keeping with all of the images that we discussed in our previous meetings, very strong, modern, urban graffiti images, diverse pool of artists, African American, Latin, female, Caucasian, covering the board, both using local and pulling some talent from San Diego and Los Angeles, which will be a nice mix for us for the city. Spoke with Octavio from Grit Development. The fence and the graveling will not happen probably for about 30 days. So we'll have the project completed, and then they will wrap up the finishing of the site and removing of the fence. We'll probably have access for the public once the work starts on it, because the site is completely clean except for the removal of one storage container. And that's sort of what's been dragging on, so. But they will have the site ready for us. So once we work out the timeline with the start of the artist work, then we'll figure out with grid development how to take down at least the opening part of the fence and to even paint the fabric that covers the chain link fence, because that will just be disposed of afterwards anyway.
Yes, well, I asked if we could paint on, if we couldn't get in really to the site, if it was not quite safe to be in there. Could we start painting on the outside of the fence, on the fabric, saying, you know, coming soon, or, and Michael Braun said he didn't see any reason why we couldn't. I mean, I thought they might need to recycle the burlap or whatever
Right.
it is. But the reason for aiming for the 16th is that about 35 downtown locally owned stores are having a pop-up. And each one is going to have some activity, some prize, and there's going to be one of those passports where if you go to 6 stores or whatever and get it stamped, then you're entered in a drawing for these. Each store has put up a prize. So they really, it's during the week between the 2 weekends of Coachella, and apparently, in the past, very few people wander into Palm Springs in that middle week. And on the other hand, they don't have any, if they're staying, into the week, they don't have any other activities really. So they asked us if we would have something going on, and it works out well. But I was worried if the gravel wasn't ready and the fence couldn't come down and whatever, that we would, it turns out we can graffiti the fence, the burlap, and then maybe the other thing we can do is just take down some of the fabric so you can see in.
Yeah, I think we can probably do a combination of that, and if I'll speak to both Pete and to Aaron, because I think Aaron would be agreeable to perhaps do some graffiti on the fabric that is on the fence, just sort of a couple of portions of it, take some of it down, and maybe paint one of the round little column support things that's on the property that would just show some inkling of what's about to happen.
Right.
And we could probably do that on that Tuesday evening or start of
That would
Monday.
be
And
fun.
do
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this is in 5 days.
Yeah.
But that's why I think this is Plan B, to get started with a couple of people down there,
Yeah, because
starting
certainly
to
with
paint.
yeah,
Maybe
with
even
the
let people tag, like,
yeah, with the
Brian,
project,
let
the
me-
cost of materials is kind of significant. So if we just sort of limit it and use just Aaron as part of, because he's part of the management of the project, I'm sure he would agreeable to come down and do a couple of portions, which is minimal expense to him, knowing that funds will be coming on Tuesday or Thursday of next week when the project starts. So
right.
Is there any issue with their insurance?
That's part of the contract, right?
It's part of the contract. I haven't heard of any issues, just,
Well,
Yeah,
did they
because
already
the-
pass that insurance part?
yeah,
Yeah.
because Pete was doing the rider on his policy and submitting it to
right,
the
we haven't
city.
received it, but I haven't heard that there's issues.
Right, yeah, Pete said from his broker, it just would take
Yeah.
them 24 hours just to get the information to you, so it's coming.
And
But
I
I
think
think-
if
Just
they
make
haven't
sure
done
not to
the
paint before.
automobile
Oh,
insurance
no, it will
system.
happen. The insurance will be in place tomorrow.
But you're concerned, you want to make sure that the date is covered on the insurance riders. That's what you're asking, right?
Well, if they're on the
So it
outside
covers
of the
them
fence,
starting
though,
that
I
day.
think, unless, you need graffiti insurance or something.
It'll be fine.
I don't know.
You never know.
I would just make sure that their contract is signed before they do any painting.
Well, yeah, and that will be big. because-
I know I'm the
Yeah.
nag on this.
No,
But
it's a good,
if something happened and we have no contract and there's an accident or something, I'm not going to be held responsible.
Well, perhaps there
Personally.
might be some unknown graffiti artist who would do it.
No, I don't think we should do anything that's on it's like a construction site. It's not
Right.
signed
Yeah,
contract.
we'll have the contract and insurance in place by Tuesday.
Right. And I don't know if all of the names of the artists will make it into the minutes. Do you have a list?
Oh, yes.
And just, I think it would be nice to be able to look back and say these were the,
Do you want me to read them
even though
again
they
for
all
you?
have sort of
And/or spell them?
odd names.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, any other reports from subcommittees of things that are being worked on? Okay. The two discussion items I put on here are basically the same as the chair's report, because this is, I want to share these things that are sort of being talked about with you. The first one is, that's not on this list, is the bus shelters that were part of Desert X. There's 3 of them. And Desert X asked us if we, the city, would like to keep them. And we pointed out that they actually belong to Sunline, the bus company. So Lisa Middleton, who's the Palm Springs liaison to Sunline, asked them, and yes, they would like to keep them. And what we're trying to help them with right now is that they would have to maintain them, which means they might need to be repainted. The artwork may fade, and this, on the sheet here is some of the specifications that we got from the artist. And the third thing that it's just discussing is that this shouldn't be forever. It should be perhaps for 2 years until the next Desert X or until the Sunline decides to commission some more. These are not meant to last forever. However, they are the actual bus shelter. So if Sunline will keep it painted, I thought we might help maintain the art itself, these panels with artwork on them.
Can I say one quick thing, because I have to leave? I don't want to interrupt you, because I have to leave to go to this Desert X lecture, the last one. As a Desert X docent on all these tours, I strongly love keeping these as temporary art, not forever. People actually really are interested in them. And if we move, if one of them I don't think is a bus shelter, if that moved somewhere where people could engage with it, maybe on our art park or something. And I don't think it would be expensive, unlike maybe some other pieces. And so, that's my comment on that.
And perhaps you would help negotiate this because you know more about what they are. And before you leave, the other Desert X piece that the city has been offered is the Lover's Rainbow, which is currently in Rancho Mirage. And what I thought we probably should do with this, if there's enough interest on the part of the commission to pursue this, any expenditure over $25,000 has to go to the city council anyway. So what I thought we might do is tell them about it ahead of time and talk about where it might go. And the possibilities that have been mentioned so far are the art park, depending on the weight of the piece. The Virgin site has been offered, sort of on the far side from the graffiti. And several people have suggested that it could go on Arenas after the Indian Canyon is made both ways. But any of those decisions would be up to the city council also. It says not only the amount that they have to approve, but the citing of pieces of public art has to be approved. So instead of coming up with a plan and asking them to approve it, I think we should involve them in the decision. So if everyone agrees, I will try to get this to the, I think there's a downtown committee, subcommittee, JR and Lisa,
Correct.
Or-
and just see, you know, I mean,
And-
again, there's no point in sort of springing it on them fully done.
Right.
Can
But
I
if-
make one comment on
Yeah,
it?
and
Yeah,
again,
and I
you
would
know
make one
about
comment
this.
before you leave, if I may.
So, so the husband of the artist is an architect, and he's the one that engineered this piece for this site. So if it moves, it has to probably be re-engineered for whatever site it will go to. So I've been thinking about this a lot over the weekend, and what if, because it's kind of an expensive purchase, if people are into the purchase, if we ask the whatchamacallit, prop what?
Measure J?
Measure J, to actually, if this becomes kind of an arenas wayfinding thing, to maybe they could help fund this, because it's it would be a huge chunk of our budget. But I've talked to Christine Hammond about those artistic crosswalks and everything, and maybe those things kind of come out of transportation somehow. And this is the second of these rainbows. The first one is in Mexico at a resort. So this is a second iteration of it, so I don't know if the idea behind it could change too.
Well, I think we should, you know, present all of these issues to the city council. I think there's also the Arenas Road Business Association, or whatever it's called, who I think would certainly probably help with murals, and maybe with this. And again, depending, I don't even know if it can go, like,
Right.
span a street. It's 42 feet wide and
Yeah, like
16
if it's
feet
behind.
high.
Uh,
But I think
You think
it's
it
not, it's not something that we could, the Arts Commission could purchase and install. I mean, it's gonna have to go, there's a 56-page engineering report that came with this.
Yeah, he talked about it when we did the first tour,
So I'm
like,
glad
to
you're,
everybody. Yeah.
she's
popped
been giving
up on the
tours of
bus.
Desert X, so she knows all the things. So all I'd like is sort of a sense of, shall we keep pursuing this and seeing if it can be done?
Yeah, but there's one other thing I would like us to also give some consideration to, and that's the ghost tree, which is Kathleen's Ryan's piece in DHS. Because all of the friends of mine who have toured most of the Desert X installations, the rainbow and the ghost tree are the most talked about as the most significant and most interesting of the installations from this year. I did reach out to Kathleen Ryan, the artist, and her gallery rep in Los Angeles. It comes with an approximate $35,000 price tag, and I thought that would have been a nice piece for the Virgin Hotel site as a temporary piece. So just in our food for thought general discussion, I think we might want to add some consideration to Ghost Tree, because it's a pretty cool piece. It needs
Yeah.
some rework for it to
Yeah,
be.
they came and
Redid all of the fronds.
renovated it. I don't know what word you would use. So they've replaced the frond, so I would
Okay.
suggest to go look at it now. 'cause
Yeah, I
it's-
haven't been done in a while.
They replaced it with a different material. It's kind of milky. It's not that same clear material.
Hmm.
But if there was a deal with their rep that they would do maintenance on it, and people really loved that piece. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the other fronds were more dramatic because they really caught
Yeah.
the light.
Well, unfortunately, if we did move forward with it, going as a temporary piece somewhere within the city, it would certainly be in a much less windy location, so that would probably, they could go back to the original design, most likely.
Could
Yeah, it's
I ask
cool.
the two of you to serve as an ad hoc committee to sort of prepare an idea of what things from Desert X we would like the city to consider? And then we'll meet with the downtown subcommittee and also just find a way to run it by the council. That's not the sort of thing you want to like, just put on the agenda for them
Right.
to
Approve or
approve.
Yeah, like
right?
make a, give a roadmap of it or something. People
Yeah.
love that one also.
Oh, yeah, certainly. So I'll follow up with the artist and her rep to see just if there's still somebody may have already snagged it between the last conversation
Yeah.
I had with her, but I'm certainly
I don't know.
very much in favor of the rainbow and ghost tree.
What makes it also effective is the sound.
The
So it
sound,
has to
yeah.
be placed wherever you'd have the sound, because that's what engages people.
Well, luckily here we do have some amount of wind
Yeah,
in
we
most
do have
places, so it'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, and the last one, this is the same sort of issue.
And I'm super into this last one, sorry.
Yeah, this is the artist, Scott Froschauer, who made the Imagine Art Here sign. And if you look on the fourth page,
Fourth page
the
of
bottom right is a sign that he made in Los Angeles, and
Excuse me,
at the-
Madam Chair, fourth page of what?
of this thing that says "Finding the Way."
No, we didn't get that.
It didn't make it over there? Oh, okay.
It got stalled.
Okay. So if you look at the fourth page, the top sign is in Los Angeles near the Convention Center, and it has all of the sister cities of Los Angeles. This one on the left is, I'm not sure where it's from, and the one on the right is one that Scott did. You know, he has a lot of sort of philosophical
Oh,
statements. And it's a little hard to read, but the one that's the colored signs has a couple of quotes about art. So we've been talking about, and also Michael Braun, who might split this with us, they would like some wayfinding to get people off of Palm Canyon to the art pit, the museum, etc. And so I asked Scott, what would he do? And first he said, wouldn't it be fun to have the distance to some other museums? And the reason I threw in the Contemporary Austin is today they announced that the new
Oh,
director of the Art Museum comes from the Contemporary Austin Museum, so that might be fun. These are just some quotes that I had found. And then I thought we ought to also direct people to the Architecture and Design Center, because that's something they have trouble finding. The Uptown Design District, there could be something, another area of downtown. And the Eat, Drink, Park, I thought might be helpful because we have this giant parking garage and no one goes there. We don't want to advertise any particular businesses, but the parking, which belongs to the city, I think we should do. So again, if you like this idea or have some suggestions, I could try to work with him to bring it as a real proposal at the next meeting. So it would be specific what it would say.
Yeah, I would say, my comment, looking at the last page of the budget, we should definitely do it. I mean, it's so affordable, and these are so cool and unique, and
I know.
people love them. It's like,
Isn't it great? I mean,
yeah.
if you have a minute, look at his website. His sign, he makes other things besides signs, but they're called Word on the Street. And, you know, it's like, I have one that says relax, and
Yeah.
there's one that says breathe, and then we have Imagine Art Here. And he's going to sell his magnets and mugs and things at Destination PSP. So if, again, I just wanted to know if you like the idea, and I'll keep working on him.
I like it.
Yeah, I would like to see it as an
We've lost a.
action item next.
Oh, no, we still have a quorum, but not that we're making decisions.
Right.
Right,
okay.
I think it's better not to with so few people. So, okay, are there any other commissioner comments? Or would our guests like to make a comment, since you sat through the whole thing?
Oh, I think it's a fun idea, and in Newport, we have the sister cities, and we have signs up, and they've been a big
Yeah,
can't.
that's right. I don't know that we have any
We
sister
had one.
cities, right?
You
What
did?
did we do with it? had-
We canceled, I don't know. That's how we got the totem pole. That was, Victoria was our sister
Victoria,
city.
That's right.
And that's
Oh, yeah.
that's why that's called Victoria Park, and
And we
that's
had
why the
those
totem pole
roses
is there. It
and
was a
stuff,
gift
yeah.
from Victoria.
Are
But
we-
somehow
are we
that
still sisters?
relationship was severed. No, I think they're,
I don't know if it was
Divorce.
through the Sister Cities organization though, which is,
Right.
that kind of keeps things
I don't- yeah.
going.
But it sort of,
Even
it seems
little-
to have faded away since that, the sisters
That's why I
connection.
thought the other museums, you know,
Yeah,
we
I
could
like the
pick
idea of the
another
museums.
country, you know.
The cities
even-
thing, yeah, the other museums I think is great.
Yeah.
It might be fun to have a Canadian museum, because there's so many
Yeah,
Canadians
yeah.
here. you know.
Well, yeah, and there's, not to tout my former hometown, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, has the new Reme Modern Art Museum, which is
Oh,
spectacular.
that might be fun.
Spectacular.
You know, there's no
Both
harm in
architecture
having,
and collection and the exhibits they do. It's on the
it's like
River
putting my
Arwalk.
granddaughter on the website, you know, we can put Saskatoon
Saskatoon.
on the side.
I have photos.
Yeah, okay. And the saying, you know, I just sort of scrolled through, but I love this one from Banksy. He says, if graffiti changed anything, it would be illegal. And Keith Haring says, the public has a right to art, art is for everybody. There's just lots of thought-provoking kinds of things. And so I think we could make this something that, you know, would draw some attention, and wayfinding is a big theme in cities and museums and things. Okay, any other reports?
Oh, I just have a question.
Yeah,
Would you have some money or think about money for later? I did a sign project in Newport and they fade after a couple of years. So would it be a temporary installation, or maybe you want to think about allocating money in the future to replace the sign pieces once they fade in
Interesting.
the sun?
though these signs are, he makes them the way a real street sign is.
Yeah, the ones we had were real street signs as well.
Green, you see the.
Yeah, we, but that's a good suggestion. We
Yeah.
do try to keep money for maintenance in our budget each year, and now we're trying to spend it.
Right. So that was my question, right, that this is conceived as a permanent piece, right, not like a temporary piece,
It's,
right?
it's permanent.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that could be moved, for example, if
Not
some
more
of
than a
the-
mile, right?
Right.
Because then all the,
No, I was just
all the
thinking,
directions will
you know,
be off.
someday all these empty sites will be something. We
Yes.
might, but I'm gonna see if we can move Imagine Art here again and see what happens.
Yeah,
Certainly
work its
worked in
magic.
Yeah, got the babies. Okay, anything you wanna add?
For those of you planning to attend the Neighborhood USA Conference here in Palm Springs, deadline to register is May 5th. So check out the website, and if you're
Great.
planning to go, check that
And
out.
we are helping with one of the bus tours. And Tracy apparently has a lot of experience now doing bus tours. She did them for Desert X, so she's gonna take everyone around. But let's all make a point of trying to send out this call for artists so that we
Yeah.
really get some new people for a change. We just need to, find groups that, there is the Artists Council that used to be part of the museum, and that's several hundred people. We could
Yeah,
do that.
that's
And
a
there's
big
the
one.
ones,
There's a
aren't they
watercolor
through-
society, there's a
through
landscape
COD,
society,
I mean,
yeah.
that would be good if we could
Mhm.
get to the college age
Mhm.
people as well as,
And would we extend as far as like Long Beach State as well? Or do you want to, or is it keeping it more local because of the 30 by 30 local theme?
I'd probably keep it more local, but I mean, it's also going out online, so like we talked about before, as long as, if somebody's willing to bring it here on the intake day,
Right.
then they can.
Yeah, because a good friend of mine teaches experimental graphic design at Long Beach. So,
I think,
Yeah.
if
Why
if
not?
they're willing to, or you can
If they're
bring it
willing
or
to bring
something.
it out here.
yeah. All right, I'll check with them.
Okay.
But the main thing, I think there's a Facebook there is like a special, there's one designed for Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, please post it and, you know, promote it as much as you can to the people, your connections on Facebook.
Okay, if there's no other business, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Public Arts Commission to our next regular meeting at 4 p.m. on Thursday, May 9th, 2019, at Palm Springs City Hall in the large conference room. Any second?
Second the motion.
There was some thought, though, of
Maybe doing it at
maybe
the.
doing it at the Desert Arts Center if the exhibit is,
Here's the idea. The idea was that that with the pushback, with the date being moved a week later, so then it would be being installed or just about installed on that Thursday, and then could be a chance for commissioners to get some preview photos and things like that, and take advantage of promoting it those couple days prior to the opening. So
We could
just
do
a
that.
thought. But if it
So-
happens, we'll have to provide notice.
right,
So.
we'll do notice. And we may have some of these art projects to vote on, in which case I think we should probably do it here because we have video and stuff. And it's fine to meet over there, you know, if we're like having just a discussion. But also, we have a plan on May 16th to have some kind of program at the Art Museum based on sort of what Dyson and Womack come up with, and sort of the future of public art. So, and I think,
That'll be like our final
yeah.
30th anniversary event, I guess, right?
Right, and we'll try to sum it up. Maybe we can do a slideshow. I think we should hold it in there's a lecture room upstairs in the museum, which holds about 80 people, as opposed to the big auditorium, but it has great audio and video capability. And I'm also tempted to, at the beginning of the year, the first person we talked to about doing a big mural project was called Branded Arts, Warren Brand, and they had just done the mural at Desert Regional that Ryan Campbell did. And we really weren't ready to have someone do a big project, but they've done one for the city of Sacramento with dozens of really good murals, and I've just been following them on Instagram and stuff. And so it might be fun to end the year with a little presentation about what we could do, because we have to find a way to operate next year where commission members aren't acting as staff, aren't doing all the work. And we've figured out the limits of what we can hire people to do, as opposed to buying art or buying the finished product of what they do. But we do need, I think, to have someone oversee things like murals so that it's not quite so labor intensive, as Commissioner Murray will attest. So if you have any ideas about that, yes, this is if you have any ideas for that, May 16th. Thank you. Yes.